saying is, with this significant change in technology, there will be a significant element of society preparation that's necessary. There are a lot of myths that have to be dispelled. There are a lot of facts that have to be put in place. And there's a significant transition here. Anytime you change significantly the infrastructure, you've got a major task on your hands, and it's not going to happen overnight. And then, I almost hate to bring this up, but the reality is, the auto companies are for-profit businesses. If the economics of the technology for the vehicle and the fuel don't make economic sense, the probability of selling very many of these is pretty small. And if you can't sell a technology, a clean technology, in volume, it doesn't really help the air quality. So just something to keep in mind is long term, the economics do have to work. You could lease the vehicle, including the charger, for $1,000 down and for 36, 48, or 60 months term of the lease. After applying the $9,000 Lowenthal money, that lease rate is equivalent to $329 a month, which, not coincidentally, is exactly the same lease price as Prius at that point in time. So we had about twice as much media presence, if you will, for the RAV4 EV as we had for Prius in the same time frame. At this point in time, this was the only vehicle in the retail market, the only electric vehicle in the retail market. And there was a lot of discussion in meetings here about pent-up demand for the technology. And in fact, there was a burst of ordering interest in the first 2 weeks that we marketed the vehicle. About 50 vehicles total in the first 2 weeks. Then you notice the order pace slows down to in the order of 5 per week, 5.8 per week, over this longer period of time. Interesting thing, among the purchase versus lease option, only 2% of Prius customers leased the vehicle. 78% of RAV4 EV owners leased the vehicle. So there's some concern about the technology, obviously. We then did more detailed survey work with a number of the early buyers. The first 120 buyers we surveyed, we got about 87 respondents out of that group. An amazingly high response rate for a voluntary survey that we didn't pay them for. And from that, we kind of conclude that the customers actually sought out the vehicle as an EV. 19 of the 87 respondents in this first early bit of buying replaced another EV that was in the household, and another 9 still had another EV in the household. So 28 of the 87, a third of the people were true believers. They already had vehicle and experience with the vehicle. 4 of the 87 didn't consider anything other than this vehicle. And of those that did consider something else, they were looking perhaps at some all-fuel or hybrid vehicle as an alternative. So here's the summary. The awareness was high. We got a lot of internet traffic. We got a lot of awareness. We spent some money. But the sales were low, and they weren't increasing over time. You can accept low sales to start with as long as there's an inclining trend. In fact, there was a declining trend. The media spend was significantly more than Prius. The pent-up demand was relatively small. It's about 50 units in the first 2 weeks. And the thing to remember is there was no competition in the market at this point in time. This is the best case scenario for a marketer. The annualized volume was about 300 vehicles a year. It was extremely expensive for us. It was not profitable. Didn't expect it to be at that point in time. And there was no roadmap that would get it to profitability. And by the way, given the volume in which Prius sold in the same time frame, Prius improved air quality more than the EVs did because of the higher volume of sales. And sales volume makes a difference. I told you I'd get to hybrids eventually. Hybrid is a core technology for the future in our estimation. It reduces criteria pollutants, it reduces fuel consumption and greenhouse gases, and it improves driving satisfaction on several different intangible metrics and a couple of tangible ones. Hybridization increases the efficiency of all prime movers, including future fuel cell vehicles. Interesting aside, hybrid marketing increases awareness and interest in clean, low-emission vehicles. One of the things we tout in every ad for our hybrids is their cleanliness on smog-forming gases relative to conventional technology vehicles, and that carries through. Just one kind of an aside, battery warranty requirements not impacting emissions really are outside the purview of the agency. Here's the vehicles that we've introduced to the market, a couple generations of Prius. Let's see. The second generation of Prius, let's see if I can go back. Touchy. You move it and it changes. All right. Okay, I'll get there yet. I'm technology disabled. This about 575 vehicles to date. Toyota has just under 400,000 of those vehicles. On a overall history basis, Toyota has 68.6% of the hybrid market. In a calendar year 2006 basis, Toyota has 74.8% of the hybrid market. Not only do we believe in the technology, we're doing a pretty good job at selling it too. That said, not all buyers value the technology the same way. The purchase process, unfortunately, maybe not for the people in this room, but for the average customer, is not always a rational process. It's usually more an emotional process. And therefore, you have to look at things just beyond absolute fuel savings or absolute acceleration or absolute emissions. It's kind of a combination of all those things that create the value proposition. We work hard to find the correct balance of attributes. It's likely the attributes that will sell the vehicle vary model by model and segment by segment. That's why we don't make one vehicle only. And as new models are introduced, this may change over time as society changes. One last topic, plug-in hybrids. As a long-term vision, plug-in hybrids are really appealing in terms of energy diversity. Depending upon the grid mix and the manufacturing efficiency of the elements of the system, they may offer reduced life cycle CO2 in addition to reduced fuel consumption. To reach the vision requires a breakthrough in battery technology for capacity, energy storage, durability, and cost. With today's best technology, plug-ins are not commercially viable. If you require a vehicle to have all-electric range, it requires a different design and will delay the introduction, mitigating the potential benefits. And one more slide. I'm almost done, at least I promise. It requires much more battery on board, a minimum of 4 times the battery, and sometimes as much as 8 or 10 times, depending on how much you're trying to do. That has mass volume and cost impacts. The energy storage system, the battery, becomes much more like a consumer electronic product than today's hybrid. So the duty cycle is much more severe for the battery. A battery that lives well in today's hybrid application will not necessarily live well in this application. Typically, the range of state of charge is from 100% to about 20%, which is much more stressful for the battery, and durability becomes a real issue. And if you don't have a life of vehicle battery, that has major implications on life cycle cost of the vehicle technology. And that's it.